How everybody doing, family? Good to see you. Had a great day today. Feeling very accomplished. Got a lot of stuff done around the home, so I'm very thankful for that. But I made this, I wanted to make this video. I've been thinking on it for a while in terms of, hey, Sister Levita, speaking directly to those who want to leave the community. Oh yeah, share this too, please. I would appreciate it if y'all could share this, tag in some friends who you think might be interested in this topic. But for people who, want to leave the movement because of what they see in the quote unquote conscious community, and we always have to be, we gotta put that disclaimer, quote unquote conscious community, because to be conscious is something, and to be a community is also, there's a certain togetherness in the community. And a lot of times we really don't have a community. We just have sects of organizations, different individuals and things like that. But the real sense of community, resource sharing, people are more prone to do it with those who they have a relationship with, However, and being conscious, as I said before, a lot of people put expectations around those who are conscious, and what I mean by expectations, peace, sister, Black Power. We put expectations on conscious people, as if to be conscious means to, to be healed from a lot of your wounds that you have sustained in your oppression. We act as if, or we think as if to be conscious implies that we have met head on with a lot of the evils that have plagued us ever since childhood, the fact that some of us do not have great relationships with our parents, with a lot of family members, our brothers and sisters, a lot of the strife that we deal with, a lot of unresolved issues. And for some of us, coming into the community has become a way of having a certain sort of pride and esteem about ourselves that we never had, that allows us to kind of put under the rug some of the crud that we never really dealt with, coming to the community, king and queen, you wasn't thinking of yourself as a queen or a king before, so now you're hearing it. So, and not only that, but people are on an outward appearance showing a certain care and affection that you never seen in a certain way in your life that was valuable to you. So there's a lot of, there's just a lot of misunderstandings and misconceived notions that come along with being a part of the so-called conscious community. Hey, Yolanda, how you doing, sister? If y'all could share this, tag some people you think might be interested, please do. So, one thing I wanted to say is that one thing we always got to be careful is, what exactly are we expecting when we come? What's going on, Brother Joseph? What are we expecting when we come into the conscious community? And I understand one of the saddest issues that we deal with is the lack of proper orientation into the movement by upstanding elders who that you could be able to really talk to, who has a very good record, that you've been in contact with, for somebody to really help you to understand some of the things that you should be considering, or certain things that you should be thinking about, or things that you should be assessing within people and organizations. A lot of times we just come as individuals, and basically we come with the knowledge and things like that we had prior, coming from wherever we came from, and that's all we have. And, sometimes we come into certain sophisticated environments and we don't really understand the rules, and we don't have people there to teach us. And so for the most part, we just learning as we go, and I was also one of those people, when I first joined the movement, I was an alcoholic, I used to smoke weed a lot, I was intoxicated a lot, and I can look back now at how I made certain decisions with certain people was based off of the fact of at the time not always having the proper orientation, the way I maybe extended myself and things like that. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, and I don't want nobody to feel like it's a bad thing with coming into a community where you're learning things that you never learned before, especially about your culture. What's going on, Chief Reek? Can anybody else hear me? Is he the only one that can't hear me? Can somebody tell me that they can hear me or can't? Confirm what the brother's already saying. I hear you. So, long story short, I'm not saying it's not good to be a part of the community. What I'm saying is that it is wise, if it is possible, to be able to have elders, somebody that is upstanding, that is able to really talk to us. Because, you know, it was a lot of things that I didn't think about in a certain nature until I put an elder in my life, until I really started being, you know, having an elder with me, you know, who I've been a part of for years, you know, now. You know, and it allowed me to really be able to assess people differently. It allowed me to be able to assess myself differently. And it allowed me to assess other people around me on a different level. Why? Is because I had old eyes around me. And too many times when we're rolling around doing what we're doing, we don't have old eyes watching us. You know, I know a lot of us, we think we're different. We think we're original, you know, and I'm not saying that we do not possess uniqueness. I'm not saying that we do not possess, thank you, Yashuri, if I said your name right. I'm not saying we don't have uniqueness. I'm not saying we're not special and things like that. I'm not saying that we're all magnificent. What's going on, brother? PFK Boom, what's going on with you? I'm not saying any of that. What I'm saying is that we sometimes we don't understand that things that we're going through, social dynamics and other stuff like that, this stuff has been going on for years. This stuff has been going on for years. The different type of personalities, from the reactionary personalities to the, you know, certain reserved people to the yes people. All of this stuff is history repeating itself. The universe basically sends back the same elements. You know what I'm saying? It's just about which elements are going to be more pronounced in the process of living. So basically, that's why it's wise to be able to have somebody that you can talk to so you can be able to assess what you do. Because a lot of times I've seen people make a lot of commitments, and I was one of those people, make certain commitments, and I did not really understand what I was committing myself to. Not saying I was committing myself to the wrong thing, but you want to be led by clarity. And certain things that helped me was the more that I was reading. You know, it's one thing when you sit back and you talk to people about revolution, or you talk to people about warfare, and it's another different story of when you're actually reading about warfare from people like Amilcar Cabral, Frantz Fanon, and stuff like that, Che Guevara. You start to see a different thought process that goes outside of people who are just walking around who have actually never lived it. The point that I'm making is that it's nothing wrong with being a part of what we call or understand as the conscious community. It's no problem with that. What becomes the problem are the expectations that we make upon people and the movement within itself, not understanding that the same people who you are around, if you came from a church background, if you came from the mosque, or if you came from the street or the strip club, those same people are the same ones. Not all, but those same people are still part of what we understand as the conscious community. Same people. Prime example. Before I was a part of the conscious community, I was a criminal. You understand that? What the difference is how I have stopped my criminal activity to be able to submit my service and myself to my people. Right? So there's nothing wrong with brothers coming in as criminals or sisters or whatever. That doesn't matter. But what I'm saying is we are composed of the same people. Being in the conscious community is not like you stepped off of Earth and you went to another planet. Because sometimes we think that way. We didn't step off to another planet. We just basically, same Earth, same people, same social conditions. We just went to a different hub. And what I see sometimes is different people have different reasons, but you have different people that want to abandon the movement because of the hypocrisy of how other people act. And I don't think that is the correct way of thinking. I understand it. It's very understandable. Because there's a lot of grotesque stuff that has happened in the community. It's a lot of a lack of accountability, and I'll get into that in a minute. But one thing Kwame Ture said before, right? And I don't know how many people are familiar with this saying. He said, we do not judge Christianity by Christians. We do not judge Muslims we don't judge Islam by Muslims. And basically what he was saying is that, because he said, even if the people deviate, it's the laws and the principles that they are intact. The laws and the principles is intact. It's the people who waver. It is the people who deviate. It is the people who are not intact. So, you know what I'm saying? We got to remember that. What's going on, brother Ricky Ross? That's right. Leaving is not an option. Not at all. It's the principles. It's the principles. And we have to remember that when we talk about Ma'at, when we understand Pan-African nationalism, we understand the tenets of Pan-Africanism. Those are principles. Just like if we want to go into Kwanzaa, they are principles. They're principles that you look at. If the principles are intact, there's no contradiction there. The contradiction comes about people. And so if you're going to have people who are in contradiction, what you do is make a decision of dealing with some of these people. And if you're going to deal with them, you have rules of engagement, because I do. I don't just outwardly deal with anybody anymore. I don't just come out open hands with everybody anymore, especially not in my city. Because when I first came to the community, that's what I did. And I did not realize what I was doing. I was putting myself in the middle of a lot of people's situations. Help. I didn't really realize that some people had a pathology to just be destructive and not fix their own situation and to create pity, And I'm not saying don't help your people. But what I'm saying is that we can't abandon the community because we have rotten apples or we have people who don't understand correct and upright behavior. Because a person can regurgitate it to you over and over. A lot of times our intellectual development is higher than our spiritual development. For the most of us, that's a truth. And I'm living proof to be able to see that. I've been able to see that. I've been able to see with my own eyes of people or certain individuals that I've had a certain deep level of respect for, and listen to certain things they preach to and actively live a lifestyle that is oppositional to what they speak. Almost to an extent as if they don't speak it themselves. So with that being said, I had to come to a realization. The people who I deal with might change, but the commitment that I made to the movement, the commitment that I had to my family, the commitment that I have to our children out here, I can't abandon that post. I must be a Pan-African nationalist till I die, because that is a truth for me. I'm not saying it's a truth for everybody, and it doesn't matter whatever you were part of. Like I've heard people say, "Oh, that's why I don't go to church, because of how them Christians act," and that doesn't make sense to me. For people who make a decision not to go to church. Now, some of us, I understand, we want to abandon the community because we want an excuse to opt out. We want a reason to discard something. And a lot of us, we want reasons to justify our inadequacies. We want reasons to justify our lack of discipline. And so some of us, what we do is when we feel stuck in a situation, we start looking to find fault within people, within situations, and within organizations. And so when we find it, which is easily to see because all of us got crap in us, right? So when we find these situations, you say, see, that's why I don't deal with y'all. That's why I don't deal with this stuff. That's why I don't deal with the black community. And I mean, it gets crazy, you know what I mean? To the extent that, we walk around saying hoteps. We calling people hoteps. Hotepians and all of this stuff. Like, I mean, we just totally disrespecting our sacred language. I can't even talk right now. I can't even say the words. But we are disrespecting our sacred language because of what people do. You understand what I'm saying? How does a people who greet somebody with hotep, because their behavior might not be in the right, that you call this person a hotep? When hotep means peace, they are not a hotep. Do you see Muslims who are not on their deen? Do you say them assalamu alaikums? Do you walk around and say that? No, you don't. So what we got to start doing is understanding that if there's aggression or is there a certain energy or feeling that it should be directed towards specific people and not the ideology. Because the principles of the ideology is something that we should be focused on, not the people. But I understand. I do understand. And I also understand that there's a saying, don't pay attention to the message, pay attention to the messenger. I also understand how deadly that can be. How deadly, because the way the human psyche really works, and then you can look at it with a lot of our past leaders and stuff like that, is people do project our leaders as having a moral compass. So usually when you go for what a leader says, indiscriminately, but discriminately, if you can understand my point, what I'm trying to get across to y'all, right? We do follow their behavior as a moral compass, even if we don't agree with it all. We do it all the time. I see it. People that we really go for their message on a consistent basis, we have a certain consent of their behavior. And we might say, oh, I don't like this or that, but I do think this about this person. So I do believe that there must be clean messengers. I do believe that. People need to be able to look and say, I don't just hear what you're saying, but I can see you. I can see how you move with your family. I can see how you move with your life. I can see that when you're wrong, you can come down on your knees before the people. You know what I'm saying? So I do believe that for people, for the masses of the people, to just give a good message and not live the message is not good enough. You must live the message. I mean, you must speak the message, but live the message. Because that's part of the problem why the community is so warped. We've had so many shaky personalities under the banners of Pan-African nationalism or Black Power or whatever you want to call it. We've had so many people who have been hypocritical, but they have been embraced. And I'm not going to, and I don't even really want to start nothing, because I know some of the names that I start saying about some of our people, somebody out here might feel like I'm slighting somebody. And I understand, because we all, you know, you got different people that click with certain leaders or certain speakers. You know what I mean? So what I'm trying to get across is that the message is important, but also the lifestyle that the person lives is even important, because the reason why people still are infiltrating organizations is because there's a precedent that has been set to infiltrate organizations. The reason why reactionary behavior is still given a thumbs up, and to speak a little bit more about that, but I mean reactionary behavior is people who have never learned anything about warfare besides reading the damn book, got you thinking that you're ready to take on the government, got you thinking you're ready to take on NORTHCOM, military intelligence, NATO, Navy SEALs, you know what I'm saying, got you thinking that you could take on all of these different people, when in actuality, you're not even prepared to even take on the illiterate European vigilantes that's in this country, that's in the militia, right? And that's not to put none of us down, because we all in this together. But when we start understanding the logistics of warfare, we understand that we don't have a military infrastructure first. And you will understand that we haven't even set a precedent to show that we ready. Everybody that has harmed African people, whether police or white person, they are not penalized for what they do. I don't care how many guns we want to walk around with. I don't care what we want to take pictures with. I don't care about none of that. When the set a precedent that you cannot fuck with the people, we have not set that precedent. We haven't. So let's be real. We haven't shown no power. I'm not saying we don't possess power, but the power that some of us are fooling ourselves into believing that we having right now, we have to work and build that, and that's okay. That's just like me, you know what I'm saying? I'm probably, I don't know, like 170 pounds, you know what I'm saying? And I'm trying to convince myself that I'm 200 pounds. Like, nah, son, you 30 short. Don't walk around, you know what I mean, lying to yourself. Deal with truth. You're going to build the 30, work on the 30. That's where I'm at. But the point that I'm trying to bring close to home, because it's a greater point that I'm trying to bring closer to home. The point is, what I'm saying is that you have had infiltrators. You have had people who have been fearmongers that have been among us historically. You've had people who riled up the emotions of people just because of the fact of them being intellectual or them being able to touch into your anger. You've had this over and over. And due to the fact that we never deal with these people, what happens? We birth new seeds. We birth new seeds. We have had great people put in great scholarly works but still go to bed with European women. This is part of the reason There has been no major uproar or major protest towards these individuals. And I'm not saying disregard somebody's work because they slept with a white woman. If I can make a weapon out of it, that's how I was trained to make a weapon out of it. However, the behavior, it must be something that is criticized, analyzed, chastised. And not just to do it out of anger, but to set certain standards. So when our children look at us, when our children look at what we're doing, they're sitting there, they're like, this is not acceptable among us. Being a pedophile is not accepted among us. It's not just in our talk, it's in our walk. Because if any of us got a pedophile around us, if we know it or we hear about it, we round up together to rout them out the community and do whatever it takes to get them out of the community. We do not embrace women beaters. We don't care if it's our best friends. All of this stuff been in the movement. All of this stuff been in the Pan-African Nationalist movement. This stuff been in the Black Panther Party. And we can go on and so on and so on about the abuses that have happened to women, the abuses that have happened to children. What have happened to the perpetrators? The majority of them, nothing. That's why we still have this dilemma to this day. Nothing. And I understand the families that have been hurt, have been torn apart, have been devastated. And people say, I don't want to deal with them no more. And if your family been affected by somebody in the movement, I understand that. I would never argue with somebody about staying in the movement if their family has been directly affected by people that profess to be family to them. Because it has happened. And the reason why it continues to happen, and until we get it right, it will continue to happen, is because we are not prosecuting, persecuting perpetrators. That's why. That's why. We also must be clear about the principles of the ideology of what we stand on. I'm from Baltimore City. I've seen this despicable stuff here. I've heard the despicable stuff. There are people here that are well respected, you know, that how I feel like you don't know me like they do. You know what I mean? Or, you know what I mean? Y'all don't know them the way I do. Y'all don't know them. A lot of us, you know, just like different states, I might approve of somebody else or somebody in their home state like you don't know them like that. That's how I feel about certain people here. You don't know them like I do. You don't have a history of what you know what I mean? But the thing is, I don't ever want to have a following where it's all like I always got to axe the grind with people. Because at times I could be very outspoken and I can be very confrontational, especially when someone has done something wrong to the community. But however, I also understand that my energy could also be spent building up people or being a blessing to some people rather than, you know what I'm saying, trying to chop off somebody else's neck. But it doesn't change my resolve to the community. It doesn't change my love for the community. It don't even change the respect that I have with some people that deal with these people. There are people who I just don't mess with. You know what I mean? And there's people that's in between, and I understand it. Because in this community, we all we have. That's what it comes down to. We are all we have. And I am convinced that Pan-African nationalism is the solution for African people. I don't mind if anyone feels like I'm wrong for that. That's fine. That's fine if anybody thinks that I'm wrong for that. But what's more important is the fact that we all have people that we don't like. We all have people that we don't approve of. We all have that. But we also got to be mindful of the bigger picture at hand. And, you know, I've heard before that we shouldn't use our enemies as examples, as things that we should do. I think that's ludicrous. I think you use your examples from wherever. If you want to be powerful, I'm not saying study everything they do, but you study power to understand how power moves, even in its modern examples. European countries will be warned. Europeans will be warned amongst themselves. They'll stop killing themselves to kill you. What's going on, brother? You born? Peace. But they'll stop killing each other. They'll stop the bloodshed to deal with you, to put you down. That's what they'll do. If you're not a pedophile and you're not a woman abuser, I stand with you in the time of war. You know, you're a swindler. I don't know. Y'all got to tell me what y'all think about that. Somebody a swindler, you know, swining people out their money, you know, because we got a lot of that in the community as well. And that's because of lack of proper orientation. And like I said, it's because of the fact that we are learning stuff from the behaviors of what's been permissible. You know, I've had many elders that have sat down and talked to me about certain individuals that are well respected. You know what I'm saying? I've had the opportunity to learn things about people, and I'm not saying everything is 100% true. But what I'm saying is that we have to get to a point that our conviction and our commitment in the struggle is so deep that it surpasses our impasses with other people. Because we're going to continue to have them because we're full of crud. And I know that at some point we have to start prosecuting and persecuting those that do wrong. And I'm talking about beyond Facebook. You know, I'm talking about beyond Facebook. I'm talking about holding community meetings and things like that and developing standards. You know, maybe it'll be the work of our children. Maybe we're too contaminated to do it ourselves. And maybe we might be contaminating our children too. But that is the reason why this stuff is going on, is because we are not holding these people accountable. A lot of us, we don't have no sense of professionalism when it comes to the community. When people make us angry, you know, when people make us mad, when people lie on us, we don't have a sense of professionalism. And one thing I've always tried to keep with me is a sense of professionalism. That's why when I get into it, if I got into it with somebody, you're not going to see me saying this whole ass nigga, this bitch ass nigga, or stupid as low as to call a black woman a bitch. You know what I'm saying? I've had some stuff with people. I've had stuff, you know, with people. But I have standards. I have a certain professionalism. You know what I'm saying? I ain't saying my work is the best, but when I come to work, like, this is a job. Being a Pan-African nationalist is a job. While I'm home, upstairs with my children, when I'm building with my woman, you know what I'm saying? When I'm building with my mother, I'm building with my grandmother. When I'm dealing with different sisters, when I'm dealing with different brothers, I'm on a job. And it's a job that I'm never off. I'm never off. But the problem is, we've never really dealt with those who misrepresent the culture, who misrepresent the community standards that we're trying to uplift. We never do that. And that's what we have to start doing before we start abandoning the community. Or it's not even the community, but abandoning the people. And I'm going to tell you why, right? I was taught, this is how I was taught to struggle from my elder. I'm just, you know, let y'all in on something. I'm the type of person, right? This is how I think. And I could be wrong. I go into a room and I speak to 30 people. The way how I talk and all of that, I'm the type of person that I think that if it's 30 people, it's only 3 people that really feel me. Right? And I feel like in a room of 30, it's probably going to be one person that really remember what I said to them. That's how I feel. When I interact with masses of people, my mind is always about the one. I'm not the type of person that's trying to get everybody. I understand that methodology too, but that's not my way. That's not my journey. That's not my path. I've been taught to train 100 people to get 10 good soldiers. That's what I've been taught. And that's what I'm in right now. That's how I'm being trained right now in my development. Right? So as I get older and I start to train others, my mindset is understanding that to maybe, I mean, and even out of that 100, you might only get 3. That's how life's work. Because for the 3 that get it, they can move mountains. For the 2 that get it, they're the ones that's going to work tirelessly. I mean, they need the rest. I don't want nobody thinking I'm saying dog yourself out. But they're going to do the work. They're going to do the work. When they see that they're out of line, they're going to submit to the process of getting back in line. It's only a few people that can do that. Because right now, to be petty, to be immature, to be emotional, to be angry, that's the new cool among us. To lie to ourselves. That's the new cool among us. The front. That's the new cool among us. And I understand why it's there. To be delusional in our thinking, to not be practical, is the new cool. So, with that being said, is that you never know of when you are practicing upright behavior of those two, that one set of eyes that's watching you. Assata Shakur was one person. Think about how many people poured into her development for her to become who she became. Malcolm X, one person. Think about all of the different people that poured in him before he came. And I'm talking about prior to the NOI. A lot of us don't remember that Malcolm's father was a Garveyite. His parents was Garveyites. He was learning the basis of nationalism when he was a child. Think about the different things that poured into people. Think about it. They were one person. And look at the effect that they had on the many. Look at that. That's why it's not wise to abandon. You never know the child that you can develop. You never know the mind or the genius that could be created. You never know. When it seems like nobody is listening, you never know. You never know. And that's why our commitment, and our conviction must be grounded. And I also understand that this is not for everybody. I understand that. And I'm not here to down talk somebody who is not ready to make that type of commitment. I'm not here to do that. I'm not here to put extra responsibility, but for those who think they are ready, I anticipate to see more hypocrisy because we out of our minds as a people. We out of our minds. And it don't stop just because somebody read 1,000 books. I've seen people that read hundreds of books who have less character than somebody who have read 5 books. Because to read books, to be involved in cultural activities, and even to do the work, just because you've been putting in work for 20 years, that doesn't mean your character is upright. That doesn't mean that. Because you have helped certain people, develop certain people, that doesn't mean your character was upright. That just means that you was able to help build some people. Understand that. That does not mean that. And another thing we got to understand is just because somebody was upright with you, do not mean they've been upright with other people. Because sometimes we do that. Thank you for everybody sharing the video. Thank you. You know, but we gotta understand that. That could be hard to accept. That everybody is not the same with other people. Because sometimes we hear stuff like, oh, that's not them. They can't do this. They didn't do that to me. We got to learn to be more open-minded. And what we have to stop doing is coming into consciousness and recreating religion all over again. That's another one of our problems. We start having a cult mentality and religious mentality. A religious cult mentality. Let me say it like that. We bring that stuff into the conscious community. If you don't rock with my group, I don't rock with you. We sound like gang members. Y'all know how ridiculous a lot of us sound? I'm going to tell y'all something, right? One time I had a brother, right, who I knew. This brother had a fundamental issue with my closest comrade. My closest comrade. It was a brother that came to me. And I heard him out. And listening to the stuff that he said about my comrade. I was like, he don't understand my comrade in spirit. And it wasn't nothing that was real deep and offensive, but he just did not understand my comrade. What I could have did, I could have came back to the brother and showed him anger. Well, you know what? You feel like that, you know, put him on blast and all that. Nah, I didn't do that. What I did was, I listened to him. And due to the fact that I'm the type of person, even I understand things beyond people's intentions. I understand that if somebody did something, they didn't intend for it to be something negative. I understand how different perspectives, the positive and the negative, right? So I'm listening. I'm like, all right. So what I do, I call my comrade and I'm like, listen, let's talk. This brother got a misunderstanding in you. I laid it all out to my closest comrade about what this brother said. Because some of the stuff he said could have been rendered as disrespectful. But my closest comrade, he's very mature. He's very mature. He's well developed as a man, you know, with his maturity, right? So what he did was he went back and they had a talk. And they had a long talk. Now, to this day, all of us are in the same company together. Right? Now, the precedent that's set in the community, though, nah. You blow that up. You put that on fire. That's what we're doing now. And I know a lot of us, we have not been taught how to handle conflicts. I understand that. That is something else too. A lot of us, we're not emotionally stable to even handle conflicts in the first place. So we don't know how to handle conflicts. Even when somebody's disrespecting us, talking unruly, to be able to de-escalate the situation. You try at first. You exhaust means. Because when you go to war for a reason. And you got to put time, energy, thought behind going to war. If it's going to become a part where you're losing control, that take energy. So I'd rather my energy be best used as trying to be as calm as possible. You know, there's people that have perceptions about me and they talk to me about their perceptions. And I'm not going to flare up and go crazy on them because of what they think and how ridiculous I was, or how ridiculous I thought it was for them to think that way about me. Because I have been able to see in different ways of how I could be perceived. And I embrace that and I understand that. I understand that some people, when they meet me, if they saw me talk aggressively in one manner, when they come talk to me, they come all riled up and pumped up because they're expecting for me to be the same way with them. Because they watched the video like this. So they say, oh man, I talked to that brother. I already know it's going to be some shit. I can see it already. I see how he act. And I understand that. When in all actuality, I wouldn't. I won't. I'd be quiet as a mouse. I'd be very gentle as much as possible. But that's just me. So we got to understand too, in the community or with people, how do we look to other people? How do we look? I'm glad I was able to provide it, Sister Patricia. You know, just trying to do my job, you know, or part of the job anyway. How do we look to other people? A lot of us don't take enough time to assess self about how we look. I know I can look crazy to people sometimes. I know I can. Sometimes my mind is totally at peace. Sometimes my mind I just look real serious for no reason. And it gives people impressions about me. There was times I didn't smile enough. Sometimes I give people impressions about me. And I understand some of us, we don't want to be doing all this critiquing and checking out our character. But one of the reasons why I signed up to be a Pan-African nationalist was to gain the hearts and the minds of my people. So if I got to spiritually dig deep for my people to better understand me so I could better understand them, I'm about that work. I'm going to be about that business. Because that's no problem for me. Because I've come into understanding what it means to be formless. Too many of us, we only know how to be one way. And anything or anyone that teaches us how to be another way is seen as an imposition on who we are. It is seen as a run over to who we are. There's nothing in life that functions one way, that is progressive, and that is successful at survival. Nothing that is one way. You can be multifaceted and flexible and still be strict, solid, standing on principles. You still can be. We must understand what Bruce Lee once said when he was asked about his fighting form. He said, you must be like water. There's a time to be hard. There's a time to be soft. It's a time for that, you know. But some of us, you know, and I would stretch as far as say a lot of us, we only know how to be one way. And we have to learn how to be other ways, you know. And another thing is what I've been heavy on in my development, and what I'm coming to is being at peace with the odds that are in my life and the things that I see. I see a lot of stuff that hurt me. I see things that trouble me. Everybody don't know my story. It'll be coming out, but you know, you hear my story, you don't know me the way you think you do. You don't know about what I go through the way you think you do. For those that think they know me. And I don't mind sharing it. I don't mind being open about it. It's just I wasn't about to just start giving it to y'all right now live on Facebook. You know, like right now. You know, I would like to you know, sort my thoughts out and stuff like that. So I'm able to really be clear, you know what I mean, about what I'm thinking, you know what I mean. However, when it comes down to it, when it comes down to the come down, you know, we have to learn to be at peace. We have to learn to be at peace. That will allow us to have clarity. That will allow us to be able to strategize. It will allow us to be able to organize. It will allow us to be able to reinvigorate ourselves when we need to. It will allow us to have more room for development. We have to work on being at peace. But being at peace does not mean being submissive. Being at peace does not mean standing by silent and idle when injustice is happening to your children or a woman or somebody else or anything in the community. It does not mean that. And that's the whole balance of life, is knowing how to respond to situations with the proper response. Because we're not supposed to stand by idle. We're not supposed to stand by idle. And I'm not saying you just jump out there on Front Street. Strategize what you're doing. Think it through. But to be at peace is not to be submissive. Being at peace, meaning that there's an inner resolve within you that you don't allow the crap that you see to eat you up and eat you alive. Because you've had good people in the movement who have been eaten alive by the hypocrisy. They've been eaten alive by the lack of accountability. And in turn, what it did is it transformed something else into them to be somebody that they originally wasn't. Sometimes we let this crap consume us too much, then we start becoming the crap itself. And some of us know it. And that become a battle too. Because it's hard to look that crap in the mirror now. Because it's like, how did I fight this for so long just to become this? That's a whole nother video. To never become what you set yourself out to be against. It's to never become that thing which you're supposed to defeat. That's another story. But remember, when we're part of the community, we're part of the movement, when we putting in our energy, we're grounded and convicted. Because the children are going to need us. There's people that's going to need us. There's ignorant people out here who don't know no better that they need us. You abandon your post, then what? My elder once said that when we lose one, that's 50. That's 50 for us when we lose one. Because that's how much work we need. And that's the lack of dedication that we have. But there will be our time again to be able to build. And the time could be coming soon. And for some people in some places, the time is happening now. And I congratulate that and I salute that if that's taking place. I really do. But there will be a time that more people become built up into what it means to really be conscious. Where people are not only built up to just be conscious, but where people are understanding the processes that they must go through to become emotionally developed. Whereas though we can start to see through or understand the difference between people who have a very intellectual capability to dig in within our hearts and be like, yeah, I feel them. Yeah. To the extent where we start having them eyes to say, haha, you could use a little bit of work too. Because we all can use a little bit of work together. We all can. That is the truth. And we got to be about the business of building each other up that way. Even our leaders. We must end this thing among us, whereas though there's no leadership council or no council of elders who can check leaders when they're in excess. That must stop. People must be challenged when they say they are against rape, when they're against abuse of women. And when you know in situations they stood idle, they must be called. And if you happen to be one of the people that's called, don't be sensitive about it. Don't be a child about it. Stand up and learn how you could be better. Because all of us don't always understand the importance of why to take a stand at certain times. Even when we're conscious in certain things we think we know. Sometimes we don't know how to take a stand on certain things. We don't know how to walk certain things out. That's okay. We stand up with pride and dignity. Because that's what I'm going to do. And I'm telling this to Facebook. My brother Michael's on here watching. Michael know me personally. He knows me personally. He's been in my house. There's some people that's on this thread. They've been in my house. I'm willing to be held accountable if there's a time to stand up. A righteous time to stand up for something in the community and I didn't stand up. Whether I agree or not, I got to stand up to that critique. And we need to talk as a community. And I need not to try to make you seem like you're an enemy. And I need not to make you seem like you're just trying to slander me. How do we correct each other, family? When somebody got a correction and it don't come from your favorite friends, it don't come from your favorite crew, you know what I'm saying? It's a slander. Because you don't like how I was done. We got to get comfortable with that. We got to develop that emotional maturity. And sometimes some people might be wrong for calling people out. I'm not saying that can't be happening, but let's talk about it. Let's let our children see that we are trying to create an accountability infrastructure. Because that's what we lack. That's what we lack, is an accountability infrastructure. People out here, you know, supposed to be producing stuff for the people. They never produce it. We don't ever, you know, we need to bring you in. Let's talk. And we don't got to criticize them first about not producing. It's like, hold up. Did something go wrong? Did you not get help that you're supposed to get? Are there some resources that need to be allocated your way? Is there some paperwork we need to do as a community to make sure that you can make good on your promise? That's the way we got to be as a community. And if they're not sincere about carrying out their commitment, then you chastise them. But we ain't gonna come off the break chastising people. But we gotta make an accountability infrastructure to ask critical questions. And the community standard has to be that anybody that tries to escape from that, they are not worthy or qualified to be working in our community and seen as being in our best interests. Europeans call you to court. You go to court, don't you? No matter how much we talk about it, you there at court. We have to start showing a certain level of respect for our processes. You don't feel like the judge got your best interest. You don't feel like the state's attorney have your best interest, do you? I know you don't. But you go there because these people got your life in your hand. And we got to start carrying and treating the community as if it has our life in our hand. That's the way we got to start carrying it. That when we call to accountability, then that's what it is. And at some point, everybody could be called to accountability. Even myself. Even myself. I had an episode with one of my good brothers before. Going through a lot of stress at a time in my life. And I came to him in a very, I'm gonna say, it was disrespectful. I didn't call him no names or nothing like that. But I talked to him as if he was beneath me because of my stress and me being overwhelmed and everything that was going on in my life at that time. I had to do that. And the brother didn't even really call me accountability about it. I just knew that that was a wrong that I had to make right. But even if that brother would have went to other people and they called me to the table, I still would have had to go. Still gave that apology because it was due. It was due. And I didn't even feel like, you know, what the situation was about. I didn't even feel like my brother was right about it. But I knew I wasn't right about how I addressed him on it either. I knew I wasn't right about that. I knew I created a hostile environment and a certain lack of brotherhood between him and I by the way I addressed him, by how he went about a situation that I didn't approve of. You know what I mean? So I'm just saying we all at some point might be called to the table. We all might be called up to the plate. But we need to be seen having dignity in our children. Because children are watching. That's how they're going to learn how to have dignity. It's by seeing us have it. They're going to learn how to be able to have a sense of responsibility, accountability to what they do by looking at us. All right, family. I'm like dehydrated. I need some water. My throat getting dry. I hope everyone or someone got something. You know what I mean? I do. This came from the heart. Probably one of my most passionate thus far. You know, I'm a very passionate speaker. You know, I can be. You know, I appreciate people watching. Take the time, share it with anybody. You know, what's going on, brother Jamal? I'm gonna go back and read. But I was on a roll, man. I was like on a roll, and I was just gone. You know, but I'm gonna go back and read the input, and I appreciate everybody's input, and I don't mind people put suggestions. That's another thing about us in the struggle. You know what I'm saying? Too many times we be waiting for other people who are so-called more studied to provide solutions. Frantz Fanon, a real revolutionary, said that it is the people who come up with the solution. Paraphrasing. Right? And we got to start humanizing each other more. And what I mean by humanizing is understanding that, for one, being an oppressive society, all of us are underdeveloped somewhere or undeveloped somewhere. We all are. So all of us need to be humanized. We need to be brought back to certain standards that we might should have led. That's what's up, brother. We might have to learn things that we should have learned as a child. Anybody know, you know, my wife, Sarah Rawful Doula, she got a book getting ready to come out. You know what I'm saying? Y'all, you know, check into my wife, you know what I mean? Revealing a lot about her life, you know, a very triumphant story, you know what I mean? But even me, you know what I mean? I'm still learning how to be a father of 5 children. I'm still learning what it means to be a husband. I'm still learning. My father, you know, I don't have a relationship like that with my father. I'm not saying that he can't help give me pointers, but our relationship not like that. I don't have too many models. But I have an elder. I have other people. So what I'm saying is I'm learning now. Where the goal is you teach your children at childhood what it means, how to treat marriage. Because that's what my children are learning now. This is what this is what my daughters are learning now. My daughter, they're learning that if there's a guy that's ever in your life, you get older and you thinking about that marriage thing, he got to show you that family life revolves around his being. It revolves around his being. That he has purpose when he move. If y'all make an agreement that you gonna homeschool the children and that man gonna go out there and make the money, excuse my language, but he ain't out there fucking off. Because the family's life is in that man's hands. And due to the fact that the family's life, what's going on, brother Nate? Due to the fact that the family life is in that man's hands, the woman has to be clear that she can trust that he's going to be a provider. That if he loses his job, he's going to legally seek other means to be able to feed his family. That he's going to stay busy. And I'm not saying women can't bring in the money. I'm just saying certain agreements. Different marriages or different relationships have different agreements. I'm telling y'all what my daughters are learning. That if they were to homeschool their children and they decided that they're going to be home and build up their homeschool erection inside of the home, same way their mother did, they understand the man has to be clear about what he is to do. He can have time to himself, but let's be clear. When you're going after the bread, when you're going after that food, we don't play about that over here. Because I've known brothers who were supposed to have been going out hunting for food. And they was hunting for ass. And they was hunting for other things that was outside of family life. I want my daughters to know he got to be a soldier. And it's deeper than just having a job and taking care of your family. But family stability is important. But your children, what we're trying to do is my children to be able to see it at a younger age. Just like some other people that's watching this. I'm pretty sure that you are taking the measures or will want to take the measures to teach your children certain things at a younger age than what you learn. That your sons understand at a certain points. And sometimes you might understand certain things with your woman all the time, with your wife. Give your wife her space. Give her space. She'll come back. Same thing with a woman looking at a man. Sometimes you might not understand all the thought processes of what a man go through. Give him his space. Give him his space. When there's a problem, you seek help and counsel among those that love you. Whether it's counseling or it's something that comes from the community. You don't go on with problems and you keep seeing recurring problems and you just magically put in your mind that this stuff is just going to stop. No. Your children don't need to learn that. They need to learn that a man does not have to argue to get his point across or be all crazy in the house, scaring the whole damn family when he's trying to get something across to his lady. If anything, you know, as much as possible, keep arguments away from children. Children need to learn this. The more they learn at a young age, habitually they'll grow up and be inclined not to do it. Because they saw that. I remember when my mother and my father, you know, I want them to see, you know, when my father upset with my mother, my father is down in the living room reading. Or he done went down in the basement to make a song. Or he channeled his energy somewhere else. Same thing with mother. When mommy's mad at, you know, Baba. Our children need these examples. And these examples will create better adults. So for all those who are striving and trying, I definitely salute you. Even if you don't have children, you're just trying to become a better person. Everything out here is set for you to be a worse person. Everything is set for you to be out here to be insecure, to lack a sense of self, to hide yourself, or to falsely recreate yourself, to get away from who you are and certain pains that's in your life. I salute everybody who's been working hard through a change, because I know out of these visitors, there are people on here that's been through some trauma. There's people in here that's been molested as children. There are people that have had unthinkable, unfathomable things that have happened to them. And everybody don't know your story. I understand. I understand. But like I said, let me get ready to go. Went off again. I appreciate everybody for watching, your interaction. Thank you. I'm grateful. I'm appreciative. You got suggestions, you know, of a lot of things I was talking about. Let's add on. Let's build up. Everybody has an important block. This is my block here. Put your block on top. You dig? So have a good one. Peace. Oh, snap. Okay, hold up, y'all.